this is a workshop meeting. It's a discussion. This is not a formal anything at all. So, guys, it's open discussion. It's to try and also understand what we want. So just a quick, for those who, for me, for example, wasn't there last year, it was prompted, this workshop was prompted by the trustees saying, coming back to us saying, solar is not viable, like full stop, pretty blunt and straightforward. However, then Taron and I and others complained, and it came back, the trustee came back and said, well, why don't you push for it yourselves? You've got enough resources and skills around the table, let's try and do it ourselves. So that's what this is the start of, re-looking at it, trying to re-energize and try and work out what the right direction is for this. And last year, a report was done, was prompted by, of course, the load shedding. Parameters have changed a bit. It's not just about load shedding right now. I'm going to summarize by saying solar is cheaper, full stop. How are we going to make that work for us is the most critical way forward as far as I'm concerned. There were extensive negotiations that were done last year. I think pioneered as it were, led by Taron and a team. Taron and others were trustees. At the AGM, we were supposed to get special meters as a yes to begin the solar installation process. That failed. Some of the trustees that were supportive of solar then resigned, and effectively, sort of, the trustees became load-shedded, and the trustee team failed to do a lot more after that. So this really is here. This is where we got to with load shedding. With solar, firstly as a response to load shedding, now as far as I'm concerned, as a response to it's cheaper. The report that Taron and Cheryl did for the trustees and for everybody, shared to everybody that was then resident or owner, as far as I'm concerned, was excellent. And that's putting it modestly. It was an excellent report. However, in the end, was not enough to convince the trustees and the subsequent trustees that it should be viable and to proceed. Things have changed. There's no more load shedding. However, there are innovations with solar that are making the difference to affordability and viability right now. And then I think part of the agenda later on is just to have, what do we want? This has been led, as it were, by, call it a team, not trustees at all. It's been led by others who are keen to make solar happen because we believe it's in our own interest to make it happen. But maybe the team has been misled. And I'm talking out saying to neighbours and others, if we want to talk to others, please, let's talk to them, that there is an opportunity for improved electricity, cost saving and supply, ongoing as opposed to load-shedded supply, that could work for us. So this is an exploration discussion, and it's to have more, let's call it chit-chat as on the agenda. Let's find out what each of us are looking for as well, because there might be different agendas for we've got different sized units, we've got different requirements, we've got families, we've got couples and single people and so on. For me, the key goal achievements that could be brilliant at best would be that there would be no capital cost, there'd be no increase in levies, there'd be no increase in electricity consumption costs compared to what we now pay. And remember, Eskom have got now a bit of a free hand to claim increases in electricity charges. And so we could end up with cheaper electricity costs, could end up with savings, and it could be unbroken electrical supply. So that for me are the goals for discussion today. Cheryl, over to you. And guys, open discussion, please. We don't need to be too polite. Thank you.
All right, this is what I'm here to do. My part that I'm going to give you is I'm going to give you all the problems we face. So after I speak to you, you're going to be like, no, bugger off, we don't want solar. And then Tron's going to step in and show you how we solved all of it. So our biggest problem in comparing our options, if we've got two options, we've got either doing a group solar installation or a solar farm, or we have a roof installation. 8 owners on that block. Who gets to use the roof? And now the best part is now, also I know for a fact that that roof is a north-south pitch, which means that only the north side is actually going to get decent solar power. The south, you can still put panels on the south facing, but it's going to be in the shade most of the day. All right, so we have 12 blocks that share their roof space. 1 in 6 fires are from solar installations in Gauteng. Isn't that great? Our roofs are 30 years old. The example I've got here is the fact that I did a quick calculator on the Solly calculator. I can send you the link if you want to do the same thing. Price estimate, 134,000 Rand. Your payback period is 7 years. And, sorry? Well, if you were to do this by yourself, this would be what it would... Just the once off. And also, I mean, this is on a 7 kilowatt... I don't do the number things. Tom's the number guy. But yes, and you can then not feed back into the grid. So you cannot... this is based on that calculation. And we will explain to you why the feeding back into the grid is such an important thing. So this is 25A, also faces north, so you can see you can actually quite see the shade on the roof there. 17, yeah. So it's just a basic idea of, I'm not a solar panel installer, but I can figure out measurements. So that is basically, and this is just explaining why north facing is better, but we can also do east and west. This is just an example, please. This is not me pointing out issues again, which is my favorite thing to do on the planet. We sent out an email, September 2023, saying that if you have an inverter system that is connected to your DB board, I'm not talking about the little trolley things that we roll around and the ones that you can move around, I mean the ones that are actually connected to your electricity DB board, you need to let Mark the PPM know, because it affects our insurance policy. If a fire breaks out and you are not on the insurance policy, what's going to happen, George? You're an insurance person.
Yeah.
It's an issue.
Yes, an issue.
It's a very, very big issue. I know of 6. Now, you guys sent in all your information, your COC, everything perfect, and you're not listed on the policy. So we're not ticking the basic boxes. How are we going to do this when 20, 30, 40, 50 people all have solar installations? The issue is that there's no process in place to check this.
So why didn't they put it up? Like, why?
Was
Where
it sent to
did it get stuck
PPM?
is what I'm asking.
Yeah. So, and you guys still did your due diligence. You are COC'd.
Yeah, we are.
Okay, so we...
Part of it is really solar installations, especially on townhouse complexes, is new. So even the lawyers are sort of trying to catch up, and I think, you know, we as castles and management need to make sure we're catching up as well.
But remember, I'm playing devil's advocate here. I'm saying that if we tell people that we can do our own thing, my question is, okay, what process do we put into place if 1 out of 6 fires is caused by a crappy installer? How can we stop this from happening? How do we make sure that the person who's putting solar panels next to me, that those solar panels are insured, that the whole fire thing is an insurance thing? So this is my concern, is what I'm saying. Yeah. That's north, east, south, west. Please, I'm not 100% accurate. I tried to get this as accurately as I could. I stood there with my little iPhone compass trying to figure this out. But there we go. So now we can see, all right, so quite a few of them are east to west. I'd also like to point out, see, I'm here. I'm perfectly located for solar panels. I also have an entire separate roof that Holiday Club built for us that we can actually put them nice north face. It's already an exclusive use area. It's like, If we end up voting to each do their own thing, you guys are screwed. I'm good. I have enough roof space. This is great. So why I'm saying I'm playing devil's advocate, I'm trying to show you the benefits and the things that are everything else.
Still have to, those panels on that flat piece would still have to be angled like this.
They would be angled. They'd be put on a little steel structure.
And it'll be a terrible eyesore for the people in front of you to have to look at that angle. So it's a no-go.
All right. Yes. So this was in April. The nice winds we had this week. So now I get my brother-in-law, who's an accredited installer, to come and do my panels, and I've got everything up there, and our first nice wind, and it'll be Sam and Johan's car, I think that's about. Or yeah, you will. Which it depends which way the wind blows. That's basically what the space that we would need for a solar farm.
So on the right is behind the golf course, is it?
No.
Boundary fence?
The golf is here.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually touch any of the golf.
But I'm saying it's behind.
It's behind there, yes.
Behind the golf course.
Behind the tennis court, that's the pool, tennis court,
Yeah.
that area. That's my favorite spot, that one and that one, but yeah. Because that would have been the one on the way out, on the left-hand side, where we've taken down all those trees at the moment, and on the right-hand side. Those would have been blocks, by the way. They would have been developed blocks, but they were never built. All right, next one. We don't want solar panels because they're ugly. They're very, very ugly, and people do not want to stare at those panels. And exactly that, guys. We have the most incredible view of plate. Guess what my kitchen window looks out on? Another building and a car park. Do you know how much time I stand staring out my kitchen window? Nothing. I turn around and I face the view. And this is the thing. So yes, solar panels are not pretty, but we have prettier things to look at. So our best idea will be to put them somewhere where it doesn't offend a lot of people, but also that it can get some sun. That is the suggested areas that you can see properly.
So out of these areas, so say let's take top right there behind the golf course. Is that enough space for, if you just use that space, is it enough
For everybody.
That's 1,700 square meters
behind the golf course?
behind the golf course.
So you could kind of put plants around it and kind of hide it away, so to speak.
This is the front view of those places that we suggested. So sorry, we will yes, we're going to make it ugly and horrible, and we shouldn't put solar panels down.
With the hedge around it.
No, we shouldn't.
Relative to location, there are other things to consider is whether some of those red proposed places have a future better use for Castleton.
Yes.
Then, so put solar in the least likely place where we want to.
So what I wanted to show you is, so this is, like I said, my view from my back window, from my kitchen window. And then the other thing, I love you, but you hardly ever get any sun, you guys. Like, what time does your sun rise? Like 12 in winter. I mean, those blocks there, I was stood there like so many times, and I'm looking and I'm thinking, this is great, we can put solar panels, but you're not going to get, you're in shade. Summer, it's not a problem. But it's yes. So it's just an idea to give you like locations. So this was the initial proposal from Candy, and this is where they wanted to put the panels and how they were going to put them. Okay. So then the last one I need to talk about is carports. Just to give you an idea, that's the cost of a carport. Our carports aren't strong enough. We would have to rip them out and put other carports. It's not really a viable solution. We've looked at that. Also, some of the carports, especially the ones in the front rows, they also mostly in shade most of the day. So, because they're in between two buildings, it's not a great idea. The ones by the gardens could possibly work, but
Surely there's also a practical maintenance ease of on the ground
Yes.
compared to on any route.
And also, that's the other thing. The longer your cables are in between your solar panels, the less electricity or less efficient your solar panels become. So if we start grouping them into small little groups, we're going to need 2-3 times the amount of panels. That's why solar farms put them all together, because then they generate the power and they send the power through, and they don't run massive amounts of cables. So they send it straight to the inverter and then distribute from there. We were supposed to be 29 blocks. Only 21 were built. So we've got lots and lots of space. The demand charge. What is the demand charge? We paid, when we arrived, when we bought, 650 Rand a month. And we were like, what is this? I never paid this in Joburg. These bloody coastal people with your funny things. Now we're paying 110.
It is way too complicated to try and get into the nitty-gritty of, but the bottom line is that it's something that the Bitu municipality brought in because there were so many holiday homes that stood empty. They needed to get income in order to maintain the infrastructure. It basically calculated on the highest peak of your demand in a 12-month rolling period. So it's set at a rate, whatever your highest demand was, in our case 418 kilovolt amps was our highest demand for the previous year, and that's how they calculated. So that comes to, I think it's 143,000 Rand a month that the municipality charges us, and that gets broken down into sections, and each section pays their portion.
Which when there's load shedding, when electricity came on, that was probably the peak every time for everybody.
Yeah.
Because
if you look at the latest accounts, we've not got anywhere near the 418 again.
So, if Bito's justification was because this was based on holiday homes, and Fletch is becoming less and less of a holiday home and more people are living here, why has the cost nearly doubled in 2 years?
Because it just keeps increasing according to
That's all.
the
By next
annual
year we
electricity.
would have doubled in 3 years.
Also remember,
You don't have control over it.
also,
No, we've got no control.
No,
You
but-
don't get anything for your money either.
also remember when everything was off and everything came back on, it used to be holiday club. So a lot of these units used to stand empty. So it was just the geysers and the things that came on. Now we have people living here all year round, and that's also increased in it.
and with inverters.
And
all of them
inverters,
that
yes.
push the peak.
Okay, this is just a little bit of a highlight reel, or maybe a low light reel, but basically we started in December 2022. We spoke to a lot of people. We had proposals from a lot of people. We had Tom, Dick and Harry and Bob and Freddie and everyone contacting us and going, my cousin's auntie can do it a hell of a lot cheaper. Let me get them to contact you. And I took phone calls day in and day out and sat with everyone. And the minute that I mentioned to them that we were looking at doing a PPA, everyone went, excuse me, what's that? And then I had to explain to them what a PPA was, and they fell by the wayside. And eventually we got down to a select few companies or suppliers that... I'm getting to it. We got to a select few companies that were able to give us a solution based on the parameters that we'd set for ourselves, which meant not having to outlay a capital of 13 million Rand to get this installation done. A PPA is a power purchase agreement. It basically, the company or a finance company in partnership with an installer finances the entire system for you. They install it over a period of time. You pay them, but only for the electricity that's generated by that system in a per kilowatt hour basis or on a per kilowatt hour basis. So there were a few different proposals received. Most of them wanted to do the PPA over a 20-year period, but we found one in Candy Solar that was prepared to do it for us over a 10-year period, and at not a very much higher rate than what the 20-year period would have been. We took all of this information to an SGM on the 29th of March, and the resolution passed. Now, 2 resolutions were passed at that SGM. The first was making a solar installation or declaring solar as a non-luxurious improvement to common property. which basically means that we could go ahead with it without getting a 100% buy-in from all of the members. The second was the specific proposal that was approved was Candy Solar 3, we called it, which was the 10-year PPA at a certain rate, etc., etc. The engineers came on site on the 10th of June 2023. We had a walk around with them. I think Peter was there, George, you were there, Cheryl was there. Basically, what came out of that meeting or that walk around was that our roofs and our carport roofs were not suitable for solar installations. Number one, our roofs were too old and would need to be upgraded in order to facilitate a solar installation. And the carports, same story, just weren't strong enough. We would have to put in solar carports, and that just would have driven the price through the roof. So the engineers proposed a ground installation and identified those areas that Cheryl showed you just now as the areas that would work. Sorry, we then received a contract from Candy Solar, or a draft contract, and that's where everything fell apart. So, what went wrong? The resolution that was passed was specifically for a roof installation, roof and carport roof installation. When the draft contract arrived, it was obviously done for a ground installation. The trustees at the time decided that that was outside of the mandate given at the SGM, and they said they went on a fact-finding mission to go and try and find installers that would do a roof installation for us, unsuccessfully so. And then in May 2024, we received that email that said, after, what did they call it? Exhaustive investigations, it was found that solar would not be suitable for Castleton or viable.
Sorry, why did we try and provide rooftop solution to no avail? Why did we even try when it's been agreed on that it wasn't possible? Why did we go carry on with it?
Because the resolution had passed at the SGM, specifically for a rooftop installation, the trustees decided to try and find someone that could do it within the parameters that it passed.
So we were almost tripped up by our own narrow definition.
Yeah.
We could have just had another SGM.
Yeah, you could have had another SGM.
Mm-hmm.
The trustees then basically threw it back in our court and said, if there are members that believe that solar is still viable within Castleton, you are welcome to take it further, employ a consultant, pay him out of your own pockets, but basically we're not doing anything further. So welcome to the meeting of the members who wish to pursue this further. Me being one of them, because I still think it's very viable.
Can I just mention something? My late father-in-law was a builder in Cape Town, and in the 70s he was building solar panels. And he was fitting solar systems to houses in Constantia, Berkeley, etc. in the 70s. Now that's how long it's been around. It's very old technology. Solar panels are dated. Solar panels will be gone in 10 years. We looked at a 20-year contract on an outdated, or really outdated mode of generation. What are we going to do instead of using this old-fashioned solar panel thing? Because solar's the future, we know that.
Yeah.
But not connected this way.
What's the alternative?
This is a workshop, so
You've got tiles, you've got glass, you've got flexible panels. That's three I can think of. I don't know much about solar.
and comparable price-wise.
Again, I don't know much about solar, but I know that this is dated. I mean, looking at old technology.
The main point is we see solar, because it's becoming so mainstream, innovations are happening all the time, technical improvements and so on. So yes, I believe it's a valid point that we've got to recognize. Just going back to your father or father-in-law, you're probably doing solar water heating then.
Yes.
So it's a different, this is photovoltaic.
Yeah.
But yes, there are innovative improvements all the time, and that is what we call, we need to future-proof whatever we go ahead with. And I'm hoping that within the PPA arrangement,
is that in a bit like when somebody was talking about the old days, you used to hire TVs or fridge when you didn't want to buy.
Leasing, yeah.
And a fleet car lease, you know, if something was tired, came in with a new, at maybe a slightly increased rate, but yes, we need to be able to future-proof.
We're also looking at a 10-year period because
Well, I think that, to answer your question, is the nice thing about a PPA. We don't own that. The solar generation belongs to the company that finances and installs it up until the time that the 10-year period is finished. Then it transfers ownership to us.
We are buying electricity,
Yeah.
not that equipment.
So it's
My
there.
point that 10 years is
Yes.
absolute maximum,
Yes.
because in 10 years we
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
look at everything.
It is in their interest to make sure that it is the latest technology that produces the most electricity so that they can maximize their income from the
Well,
system.
quickly, very small print at the bottom, that when they add here, they have to replace it with all the modern.
Anyway, yeah, Cheryl's slide here just shows what the Eskom tariff increases versus inflation are. But basically,
It's a bargain.
Eskom already applied for a 44% increase for next year.
Yeah.
So,
And NERSA no longer control Eskom.
yeah. So the application process is null and void, they're getting 44%. But if you look at historical increases, it averages out over the last 25 years at 15% per annum, which is way higher than any CPI figures. So why is it still viable? Even without load shedding, as I said, Eskom applied to NERSA for a 40% increase. We have a few friends that travel up and down between Europe and Plettenberg Bay, and one of them was telling us the other day that it's become so expensive for them to heat their homes in Europe that instead of staying there and paying the energy cost, they come and travel in South Africa. It's cheaper for them to travel through South Africa for 6 months than it is to heat their homes in Europe. And this is where we're going. We need to get something in place that gives us that future proofing against what is coming. And that is a solar farm, in my opinion. So, after 10 years after installation, this entire system, including the batteries, because the batteries go into a separate lease from the PPA, but everything transfers, the ownership of that transfers to the body corporate of Castleton. Now, Castleton can, in that instance, continue billing the members at the rate that it was billed at that point. Those funds are then basically free of charge for Castleton. And those funds can then go towards driving down our levies, making improvements, maintenance, all that sort of stuff. The solar generation part of it, the panels and the inverters, are guaranteed for 25 years. The batteries are only warranted for 10 years. So that is something that we would have to look at after 10 years to maybe replace or supplement or whatever we want to do. But for 25 years, we're going to have generation out of those panels, and for 15 years after the PPA, that's going to be free generation for us.
So some of the savings should go into a kitty for batteries.
I think so, yeah. But keeping in mind that it's on a lease. So when your BMW on lease becomes a little bit old, you trade it in and you get yourself a new one.
You don't talk to Lee, not selling.
Yeah, no, we don't want second-hand back.
It might be a second-hand market for panels. At that stage, it might be a second-hand market of 10 years for panels.
Yeah.
As an inexpensive form of solar collection.
Yeah.
Cheap, like the trading upon your cheap car for a more
Yeah.
expensive one.
Yeah.
And we will change the entire system. The farm will
Yeah.
change. Getting rid of the batteries, because they're all going to be sucked after 10 years.
Yeah.
And getting rid of the panels as well for what we can get for them.
Yeah.
Because I think there'll be a market for them.
Yeah. But like you said just now, there'll be new technology. So maybe then the lighter type of panels can go on our roofs, and we can just extend our generation. Right now, it is not possible for us to get enough panels to go off-grid, but maybe it will be in 10 years' time.
Yeah.
You never know.
Could be nuclear anyway.
Yeah.
No, serious. They're busy developing a nuclear generator now. They can do the whole city.
It's going in your house. I'm not sleeping next to that thing.
You're also getting across Europe and the UK, getting these large battery farms now.
Yeah.
And you just feed everything into that, and that'll be cheap. And if you need any sort of power and energy, you just pull from that.
Yeah.
So that could easily be developed with the space that we've got around.
Yeah.
So there are many things that are going to.
This is a starting point. However, our energy supply and demand evolves from here, we don't know, but it's a starting point. Okay, bottom line. Where do we go from here? From this meeting, or this meeting of the minds, where do we go from here? We need to now go and revisit all of those companies that quoted us previously. We need to get updated proposals. We need to compile a solution, a package, the same as what we did last time, and take this to an SGM or an AGM for the members to vote on. And I think that's where it fell down the last time. There wasn't enough communication with the members. Everyone kept asking, what's happening, and we just didn't have answers because it stopped. There was no communication. So we'll take all the options that we received presented at an SGM and let's put it to a vote, because this is a democracy after all.